Hi, Sophie here, and today I am talking about the very trendy topic of intermittent fasting and how it can relate to weight loss, particularly for women over the age of 50. Okay, so today I had to hit the topic of intermittent fasting because it's so trendy right now. Everybody's talking about it. When I work with clients, it's one of the first things they ask me, and when I do challenges, it's a really big part of the challenges that I do. By the way, if you don't know me, I'm Sophie. Welcome to my channel, Gorgeously Green. I'm an author and I am a board certified nutritionist. And I love to make these videos where I give tips and tools and lifestyle changes every single week on this channel to help you stay healthier and happier, because obviously the two go together, for years to come. Now, I started speaking more to the women, I say 50 and over, because I think we are a group, I'm in my mid-50s, that are very often neglected on social media and on YouTube. You see all the videos of all the sort of young girls and the young guys with the sort of six-pack abs and all of that business. And I think that we, were a little bit neglected, but there's a lot of us, right? And the other thing is that there are certain lifestyle changes that I think are very pertinent to a woman who gets a little bit older. So to certainly, I was going to say menopause. I'm going to start calling it menopause actually. But certainly perimenopause, menopause, and post-menopause. For me, that's when certain lifestyle changes need to come into play for optimum health and weight loss and all of that good stuff. So anyway, subscribe to my channel because I don't want you to miss any of these videos that I'm churning out, and I so enjoy making these videos for you every single week. So let's get on to the topic of intermittent fasting. Is it good? Does it work? Should we all be doing it? I'm going to make this very, very simple in this video because it can be sort of wound up into such a complicated topic, and I've done so much research on it, and at the end of the day I've realized that it's actually, well, I should say the most effective way of doing it is so simple. So stick around to the end because I'm just going to go through just making about 3 or 4 really important points with a little bit of information about intermittent fasting, and then at the end I'm going to say, and ta-da, this is what we should all be doing. So stick around because I want to make it really easy and simple for you. So first off, it's super trendy, everybody's talking about it, and here's the thing. When you eat, because intermittent fasting obviously is talking about fasting, like going through little windows, whether it's days, weeks, hours of basically not eating. That's what fasting is. And intermittent means that you're doing a little bit here and a little bit there. And there's many different ways of doing it. But to me, as a board certified holistic nutritionist, what you eat is more important than when you eat or how much you eat, caloric intake. So I'm saying that right off the bat because you could be doing perfect intermittent fasting, you could be doing all kinds of calorie restriction, but if you're eating meals that are loaded with foods that are going to increase inflammation in your body and lead to long-term disease, it is not a good idea. Like, what's the point? And that is why I recommend primarily a whole food plant-based diet for disease prevention and to keep you, lean, well into the sort of last few decades of your life, which is what most of us want. And I've made quite a few videos about this, sort of drilling into, what I eat. In fact, I'll put a link underneath this video to the video that I made recently about what I eat to stay lean and slim 50 plus. I made the changes when I was about 48. So that's it. So most important thing, if you're like, oh, I've got to try intermittent fasting. Well, the first thing that you want to do is to really look at exactly what you're eating to bring down the inflammation, cholesterol, if you need to, high blood pressure. Let's get all those things sorted out first. And then, you can blend intermittent fasting into that. So my second point is that whatever kind of fasting you do, in fact, whatever lifestyle change you make, has to be sustainable. Meaning you have to be able to carry on easily doing it, not just weeks or months from now, but years from now. Because otherwise, honestly, what's the point? And that's why diets obviously don't work, really restrictive diets, because they're just not sustainable. The truth is, the brutal, honest truth is that you're not going to be doing that, whatever said diet is, where you can only eat, I don't know what, the complicated, totally grain-free, can't touch a thing of gluten, can't do this, can't do that, can't do the other. There's only a certain amount of time that you're going to be able to sustain that. And then you're going to be like, oh, you throw in the towel. And that historically is what happens. And that's what long-term studies have shown us time and time again over decades, that that's generally what happens. And that the sort of weight loss just either cancels itself out or is a sort of non sequitur in the long term. So we're doing a lifestyle change. We're making these changes that are easy and natural. They feel right. So if a lifestyle change feels relatively natural to you, to your body, to your biorhythms, to your lifestyle, and you feel really good after doing it, well, those are the two things that mean that it's sustainable. That means that you are going to be able to carry on doing said lifestyle change. And that is why, as a health coach, I often tell people just start with these little incremental changes and weave them into the fabric of your life. And it's always holistic. It's never just one thing, because every single change you make, whether it's diet, whether it's sleep, whether it's exercise, whether it's stress management, every change will affect every other area of your life, which is what's really beautiful, because you basically, start where you are. So let's get on now to drill into making intermittent fasting a lifestyle change that's sustainable, that you actually can do and you want to do forever. Because there are complicated windows where people say, oh, I'm only going to do a feeding window from, such and such a time, from 4 to 8 at night, and this and that, and which is better. And please don't get into the weeds, the complicated weeds of all that. Again, I'm going to make it so simple for you in just a second, because I'm going to tell you exactly what works best for most people, and it's so simple. But for most people, intermittent fasting will mean that there's this period of time where you're not eating, and very often this period of time will be during the night. So for some people, it'll be from 7 at night till 10 the next day. It's really anything from about 12 to 14 hours that you're not eating. Now, obviously, the easiest and the most natural time to do that is while we sleep. That actually honors your circadian rhythms. That is exactly when you should be doing your intermittent fasting. And again, it's not something that's weirdly unnatural. It's actually what a lot of people do. And interestingly, when we keep on, which I do, look back to the healthiest regions in the world, some of the blue zones, which are these areas that have been studied to have the longest living, healthy centenarians. They very often follow, particularly, I believe, the Seventh-day Adventists, follow this intermittent fasting, where their last meal will be at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then they'll have a nice long fast, wake up early because they'll go with their circadian rhythms, and then, you know, they'll have a good 14-hour intermittent or fasting period. Now, let's talk about why we want to fast at night, and really, really important, why we want to front load our eating to get most of our calories at the beginning of the day. So as I said in a video that I did of how to beat menopause belly fat, and I'll link to that one under this video, please watch it because there's some interesting points in there. But one of my points, I think it was 6 tips to beat belly fat, menopause belly fat. Number 6, the 6th tip, was stop late night snacking. Because late night snacking is so deleterious to not only our health, but also it is the one sure way that you're going to find it so hard to budge those last pesky pounds that really you find hard to get rid of, and that belly fat that can really happen to, you know, women during and after menopause and beyond. So late night snacking, and this is going to be part of your intermittent fasting regime that I'm just about to show you exactly how to do it. Late night snacking is going to be a thing of the past, because when you stop eating 3 hours before you go to bed, at least 3 hours before you go to bed, studies have shown that so many health biomarkers improve. Notably is blood pressure. So studies have shown that it significantly drops in individuals who refrain from eating 3 hours before they go to bed. But oxidative stress, inflammation, the dropping of lowering of LDL cholesterol, blood pressure, I've said, you know, insulin sensitivity, all of these things dramatically improve if you stop eating 3 hours before you go to bed. So if you get nothing else from this video and you're like, I kind of want to intermittent fast, but I kind of don't, and I've heard what she said and I'm going to switch off the video, if you can just take that away, to just stop eating then. And I know it's a discipline because it's really hard, because our resistance goes late at night, we're tired, we're exhausted, often we're stressed, and we do this unconscious eating because we eat in front of a screen, we eat in front of the TV or a computer or our phone, and that's unconscious eating. And all of these things just don't do us any favors. We eat more, we tend to favor fatty foods, those foods that are gonna sort of make us feel good, and we eat our worry and our stress, you know, in the form of ice cream or cheese, the foods, incidentally, that are the hardest foods to digest. So that does require a little bit of discipline. I'm not going to lie. It's a lifestyle change, and for many of us, I know it's really been hard for my husband. It's probably the hardest thing that he's ever had to do, because for him, just for so many years, it was just habit, just to turn on the TV, sit down and open a bag of nuts or a bag of chips or something, just to crunch and munch on something. So it's been really difficult for him. But we've just kind of made it a little rule in our household. It's like, you know what, when the kitchen closes at 7:30 or 8 or maybe latest 8:30, it's closed. And that means the cupboards are closed, the pantry is closed, the fridge is closed. And that's it. We just have that little rule, and he feels so much better. He had to sort of grudgingly admit that. He was like, yes, I do feel better. And of course, he lost quite a lot of weight, and that sort of weight that had just been slowly piling on. He's not a sort of massive overeater, but it was that late night snacking that, again, as you get older, it's insidious. It just slowly creeps on. So he's thrilled with that. And I think that, as I said, is one of the hardest lifestyle changes that he's made, but now it's become a natural way of life for us. It's just, that's what we do. And there are the odd exceptions, when we go out to dinner a little bit later, or we're on vacation or whatever. But for the most part, that is our lifestyle. Please make it yours. Now, let's talk about this actual intermittent fasting window. Here's what I recommend. So you're going to choose 12 to 14 hours every day, or within a 24-hour period, where you're going to fast. You're not going to eat anything. You could have water, but you're not actually going to eat anything. You could have a little bit of lemon water, which I often recommend first thing in the morning, but not a smoothie. So what that basically means is that, say you eat your last meal your dinner at 7 o'clock, you will not eat anything until 7 or 8 or 9 the next morning. And that depends on you and your preference. Some people, if they stop eating at 7 the next morning, they're ravenously hungry, and that's when they're gonna eat. Some people will leave it for 14 hours and they're absolutely fine. Very often, if you get very hungry first thing in the morning, start with that 12-hour, and then you can inch it a little bit longer. You may then say, I'll try go 13 hours or 14 hours. So that's what I recommend that we all do. And I'm just going to talk a little bit at the end of this video, at the very end of this video, I keep saying at the end of this video, just about the detoxing benefits of this, because it's very important as we get older for women, for detoxing our brain, which is super, super important. So hopefully you got that. You're going to choose. Now, the other thing that is very important is front loading your calories. And what I mean by this is try to eat more food at the beginning of the day rather than the end of the day, even if it's your early dinner. And the reason is that the calories that you eat at breakfast are not going to be so weight gaining. You're not going to gain so much weight, and again, this is supported by studies, than the calories that you consume later in the day at dinner. So the best case scenario is you'll do your 12 to 14 hour fast every single night. You'll wake up, you'll have a really good breakfast. I've actually made a video, I'll link to that one as well, of some breakfast ideas, high protein breakfast ideas that will be really helpful for you. But have a good breakfast and or a delicious smoothie. I'm such a smoothie girl because you get all your nutrients packed into that beautiful smoothie. Your greens, your omegas, your probiotics, your antioxidant rich fruits. It's just, I couldn't live without my smoothies. I love them. And again, for some of you who have said, Sophie, I'm a little bit worried about the sugar in smoothies, or are they too calorific? No, not if you have this morning smoothie. You have it with your breakfast. And then have a nice satisfying lunch, a nice large satisfying lunch, full again of clean plant-based protein, lots of complex carbs, your sweet potatoes, your root veggies, your healthy grains, all of these beautiful foods, and then a light dinner. And try not to snack too much in between, because although we don't want to you know, I don't want to go too crazy with these. You've got to like have these periods in between breakfast, lunch and dinner when you don't eat anything, because that's not doable for everybody. And I don't like to put anybody under restriction or pressure, because it always leads to revolt. And if I say you cannot snack, then the first thing you're going to do is, but I'm dying for a snack. So you do what feels comfortable. But if you can just move along your journey, just thinking, you know what, I'm going to try to stick to breakfast, lunch and dinner, sit down to eat it, let it really digest well. Another little tip is try not to drink iced water before or during a meal, because that can slow down digestion as well. And if anything, you want to drink room temperature or slightly warm water before you eat, because that fires up your digestive enzymes. So all of this leads to health. Your body is assimilating all these beautiful disease-fighting nutrients. Your body's satisfied. You're not going hungry. It's just the natural way to eat. And again, eating a nice healthy breakfast, lunch, a light early dinner, this supports your body's circadian rhythms. It's actually what your body needs and wants. And the benefits are far-reaching, way beyond weight loss. It's also going to help you to sleep better. So for those of you who suffer from insomnia, you know, just try that. Try just, you know, dialing everything down earlier in the evening, eating earlier, no late night snacking. And then when you put in those other little tips, like, you know, reducing your screen time at least an hour before you go to bed, you know, when you start making these little incremental lifestyle changes, you are going to feel so much better that you're going to say, Sophie, I'm just going to carry on doing this. And then it just becomes easy. It becomes a lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle of health and wellness and more joy. Because when we're healthy and rested and nourished and operating at our ideal weight, then we feel, obviously, we allow joy to come through us and into our lives. Now, finally, because I did say, I just want to mention detoxing, because this is important. So our bodies need to detox. And I have actually, I always say link under here, but I will put this link under. I have a little course, a detox course, really comprehensive video course. So I'll pop a link to that underneath here as well. But if you don't want to do that, just know that by following this intermittent fasting protocol that I've just outlined for you, super easy, super simple, your body is going to detox anyway, because our body loves to detox at night. And again, you know, we follow our natural circadian rhythms, we go to sleep at night. And then if your body is not having to digest all this rich food and sugar and everything, which comes from late night snacking, then your body can just naturally go into doing what it needs to do to detoxify, and particularly for brain detoxification. You know, as we get older, as our hormones diminish, menopause and postmenopause and onwards, it's even more important at this stage of life that we're really looking after and protecting our brain. So our brain needs to do this detoxification, and the way that you're going to enable it to do that is to have this period of fasting while you're sleeping, and at the very, very least, not eat 3 hours before you go to bed. And I will go into that in a little bit more detail in another video of exactly how your brain and your body detoxes, you know, during these periods when you're not eating and you're sleeping. But I didn't want to make this video too long, because all my videos go so long. So that's it from me. So if you're thinking about it, I'd really, really recommend giving it a go. And I also just wanted to, I'm just thinking, when I get to the end of my videos, I always think, what are the questions? And then that's why my videos get so much longer. But I know that some of you have heard of, and I've actually done a video on the fast mimicking diet, which is where you fast, but not completely, you don't eat no food, but you'll dramatically reduce your caloric intake for 5 days, and you might do this once a month. And it's often indicated for people who, you know, who are sick, who maybe have fatty liver disease or diabetes, or you're just not well. and it can be extremely effective. So I will put a link to some research, and I'll put a link to the video actually that I did on that below this. So that is interesting, but it is a little bit more complicated. You know, I'm not going to lie, because you can either do, it's Volta Longo, and he's created this system that you can buy, but it's very expensive in order to do this 5-day with the exact amount of calories and the exact foods that it indicated. So you can do that, but it's expensive, or you can just sort of work out a version of that yourself with just beautiful whole food plants. That's it. And finally, it would be remiss of me not to mention that before any fasting is undertaken, any intermittent fasting and changes that you're making to your routine, even if after watching this video you go, right, I'm going to do a 12 or a 13 or a 14-hour fast. If you are on medications, please check with your doctor first. Very, very important and not noted enough. And this holds true really for any lifestyle change that you're going to make. If you're suddenly going to start doing high interval training, HIIT training, or fasting or anything else, because there may be a reason why your doctor may say, you know, it's a good idea or it's not a good idea. And very importantly, when you start it, things may change in your body for the better, but then some of your medications might need to be altered. So do that, please. That's all from me. And if you haven't already, obviously make sure you subscribe and leave me your comments, leave me your questions. I do my best to answer every single question that is left for me, because I value my subscribers so much, and I really value you taking the time just to leave a comment or a question, because I know in this day and age everything takes so much time. So I value that, and by showing you how much I value you, I really make an effort to answer all your questions. I will see you next time. If you enjoyed this video and don't want to miss any of my upcoming videos, please subscribe and make sure you click on the bell icon next door to the subscription box so you'll be notified as soon as a video goes live. Also, make sure you turn on the notifications for YouTube on your phone.